What is prog metal? It is possibly one of the most misunderstood and misidentified genres. There are many bands considered prog metal that are better classified as other genres. And many bands that are not considered prog metal that definitely are. I suspect the reason for this is because prog metal is supposed to be more niche, so many bands will adopt the prog label to seem more obscure than they really are. Likewise, the prog status of more mainstream bands is often swept under the rug to keep it seemingly niche. Prog metal also has a negative connotation for supposedly being pretentious, among other things. I am going to either affirm or debunk what people stereotypically think about prog metal. First, 27-minute songs. Yes, prog metal bands do have long songs typically. It's not uncommon for prog metal songs to be between 7 and 15 minutes. However, just because a band doesn't have a song exceeding 20 minutes, that doesn't mean they aren't prog metal. It's just like how grindcore typically has short songs. But in neither case does it completely define the genre. Second, extreme experimentation. People tend to think that prog metal is super random. While there are moments of this, generally speaking, there aren't 6-minute interludes of circus music in most prog metal albums. That is more in the realm of avant-garde metal. Which I suppose can be considered a prog subgenre, but it is not representative of what prog metal as a whole sounds like. Prog metal does experiment, but not to the point where it would be described as wacky. Third, accusations of pretentiousness. I think this is due to the instrumentation being more technical and the lyrics being more philosophical, but there's not much wrong with either of those things. I don't see why people are so adversarial to music being more intellectual. So I would assume the biggest issue for prog metal is, well, the prog metal fans.
You are the most intelligent human being in the world. Do you agree?
To be fair, you have to have a very high IQ to understand
prog metal.
Now personally, I have never ran into a toxic prog metal fan. Perhaps it is because I myself am that guy. I prefer that my art and entertainment be deeper as opposed to shallow and surface level, but even merely stating that will make me seem pretentious, I suppose. One of the first bands to truly have the prog metal sound was Fate's Warning. They very much had that classic heavy metal sound, but they did far more with it than what other bands did at the time. Now, when hearing this, it's easy to think, hey, this sounds like Iron Maiden, because it does. Which brings me to a controversial question. Is Iron Maiden the first prog metal band? I think the argument could be made. Common traits of prog metal are contrasting, clean ballad type sections and rougher, heavier parts.
God knows he wants to go home. Children of the damned. Children of the damned.
More convoluted rhythms and melodies. And more thought-provoking lyrics.
Reflecting on my past life, and it doesn't have much time. 'Cause at 5 o'clock they take me to the gallows pole.
I believe Iron Maiden hits all three of these targets. Another two bands that are quite popular and aren't considered prog metal, but really should be, are Metallica and Megadeth. Now they are thrash metal, as opposed to classic heavy metal, but they strongly feature the elements I previously mentioned. Take a song like Sanitarium. It is far removed from what is generally considered thrash metal. It's slow, has a lot of soft moments, contains odd rhythms and melodies, and has more cerebral lyrics. This is prog, and this is not a cherry-picked example either. This is not a one-off ballad track. This also applies to The Thing That Should Not Be, Leper Messiah, and even the title track, Master Puppets. If all this is not at all prog metal, what is it? Because it for sure isn't straight up thrash metal. It's a similar case with Megadeth. Now they have more of a technical thrash metal sound, which is already somewhat proggy. But I still think they are also prog thrash like Metallica as well. Rust in Peace, for example, Holy Wars, and Tornado of Souls are very proggy tracks. Now that I've got my hot takes out of the way, back to prog metal history. Queensryche is a huge one. Operation Mindcrime was a hugely influential record. It has that prog/heavy metal sound, similar to Fate's Warning and Iron Maiden, but they have a pretty distinct sound, nevertheless. Dream Theater is, of course, the most famous prog metal band. They also represent the transition between the original style of progressive metal and the more modern incarnation. While the original style was more classic heavy metal sounding, the next variation was more groove metal based. You can see this change between the albums Images and Words and Awake.
Don't tell me you wanted me. Don't tell me you thought of me.
You can hear the groove metal influence most prominently on the album Train of Thought. On Octavarium and Systematic Chaos, they continued this on with arguably a bit of alternative metal influence.
Why do I feel so numb? Is it something to do with where I come from? Traveling through both space and time, out of body, out of mind, out of control, my music constant motion.
Another band with the prog/groove metal sound is Nevermore.
The river dragon has come, souls one.
They are a bit more dramatic, as they have some epic doom metal influence. You can think of prog metal as waves, the first wave being the heavy metal influenced prog metal like Fate's Warning and Queensryche.
Educate the masses, we'll burn the White House down, speak to me. The pain you feel.
And the second wave being the groove influenced prog metal like Dream Theater and Nevermore. There are also other offshoots. I already mentioned prog thrash, but there's also prog death metal. The band, Death, has this sound on their records Human, Individual Thought Patterns, and Symbolic. The band, Opeth, is one of the better known prog metal bands. They mix prog metal, melodic death metal, and doom metal. Their albums, Blackwater Park, and Ghost Reveries are their most famous and some of their best.
Devil cracked the earthly shelf who told you was the one. The hope into the room and said you have to live before you die young.
There are also prog metalcore bands, the most famous of which is Avenged Sevenfold. Who mix prog metal with melodic metalcore and hard rock. There is a whole spectrum of prog-influenced metalcore. On the lighter end, you have Coheed and Cambria, who essentially mix prog metal and emo. And on the heavier end, there's Between the Buried and Me, who take prog metal in a deathcore direction. Between the Buried and Me also ventured into avant-garde metal territory. There are some bands that fall into what I call lulls so random core. This is essentially avant-garde deathcore and includes bands like I Wrestled a Bear Once, and Arsonists Get All the Girls. In the 2010s, prog metal became more associated with djent. I will make another video for djent, but for now, I will just touch on some bands that mix djent with conventional prog metal. These include Zerath, and Periphery. Many technical death metal bands also mix in prog metal, such as Obscura, and The Faceless. Gojira also has some influence from prog metal, and it seems we may be entering a third wave of what defines progressive metal, though I'm not fully sure what that entails.
When you change yourself, you change the world.
Lyrically and thematically, prog metal tends to deal with more big brain subject matter than most metal, philosophical quandaries, and deep matters as such, transcending the earthly and attaining a higher state of being. From topics of existentialism and overcoming nihilism, to predicting the future and pondering on potential thought crimes, to wondering about the singularity and what it will bring. Prog metal should not be so casually dismissed, as it brings us one step closer to the truth. Our acculturation continues as we ask ourselves, what's in a meme?